What's going on, gamers? Welcome back to the channel. This is Jonathan Zuniga with your EUIC Forecast. Now, we're going to go dive right in straight into what we are expecting to see in the good old UK this coming week. Let's pan over to our host, John Zoo. Thanks, John. All right, everyone. So, we have here some teams that I expect to probably do well or be at least at EUIC this coming weekend. I mean, we're talking about a major. We're talking about an international that has peaked, the highest registered international we've ever seen before in VGC history. So, something to note, there has been obviously a great uptick of what we like to call the Tang on the channel, and this is the Tang Gang, the Tang X Tang collab. And I mean, like, this team, just won San Antonio, obviously coming off of a huge finish with the first and a second place, obviously. So, the Fairy Terra CIR definitely has warranted people to adapt to things like this Zamazenta with not Heavy Slam, but with Behemoth Bash. And this is the Arizbeth team. I think this team is really cool. It did really well in the GC. This could be a nice take on what you might want to bring to EUIC as a response to a team like that. Also, I would make some set changes if somebody decided to bring this team. I necessarily am not a huge fan of Electro Whip. I can see the utility of it though. I just really like T-Bolt on this type of Raging Bolt just for that massive damage output. Especially when you can get into like clap mine games and you really need to pick up a KO with T-Bolt. But overall, I think this team is really strong. Altogether, it has a best of 3 capacity. But if not, like, there's definitely different versions of Zama that could work. Like you could swap out this slot with the Moongus Rocky Helmet, keep Bolt, change it to like Thunderbolt, and go Life Orb, put the Flutter with the booster, and then your last slot. I mean, like, pick a pawn, maybe. I don't know. There's definitely been a lot of different variations with these like 4 slots with these two spearing the head, but the main adaptation being Behemoth Bash to deal with Fairy CIR, since like CIR is like really strong, but like its biggest problem is Terra, because like so many Terras seem pretty kind of mid into it. I know people have been trying to test like Poison. My issue with Poison is the biggest thing being that like you get kind of like hard wrecked and walled by CSRs. So Ghost Pony, not that much fun for a CIR to deal with, obviously because of the pins that you can get put into with Astral and Psychic move coverage. We've also seen, like, I mean, I hate this, but like we've seen people like adapt to not taking just Jackson's team, because this is what he used at San Antonio and did top 16 with. But we've seen like changes with like old versions or new versions of Grant Weldon's like Zacian team, with like Zacian, Regidrago. I've seen it with like Firepawn, Wims, and I've seen Ditto, like Sash Ditto with it. Which like honestly isn't that bad. It's just really annoying overall, but like I don't think it's super consistent of a team. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I have seen Zacian pick up a bit as a response to this team. So I would say this is like probably one of the more popular teams that people like have been using since the Tang Gang did so well with it. But yeah, people's response have been like shifting over to like going Zacian Drago with Tailwind user, and then trying to like put pressure on the team overall, since there is an Intimidate on this team. And also, since the speed control is a manual Tailwind setter, the Prankster Tailwind setter just gets to pop off with the other guys. So it's pretty annoying. Not unwinnable though for this team, I think, by far, but it's definitely an annoying matchup for this archetype for sure. And then we got like some of the common like balanced teams that I would always expect to see in London, because of it being a European event mostly. And as we all know, they love balanced teams. And then obviously one of the most popular ones is this Kyogre team that Ollie really blew up after Worlds, post-Worlds, coming into the new reincarnated Reg G, I guess. And this Kyogre team has been very popularized. I mean, Ollie made the adaptation with like Turbo Boom with drum beating, which isn't that bad, actually. It was a cool idea. It was a sick adaptation, and he almost won Birmingham with it. So like I don't see this team falling off, even though I think it should. I don't think this team is very good right now, but like I expect to see it in Europe very heavily because I felt the same way about Birmingham, and we saw it like everywhere in Birmingham. Same thing with like emo pony balance. We definitely will see a lot of CSR, I think, because this is like just a standard day one balance core for CSR. The adaptations to this to the original, people just swapped around some slots and some moves and changed. I remember when we first got Ray G, I think this used to be Covert Cloak. People were testing Spell Tag, people were testing Life Orb 2, like, and then this slot can be Psy Shock to help against your Pagos matchup. The Urshifus have been Sash, Stellar, obviously to help with Pagos. I'm not a big fan of Sash. This Ensign though has also been like helping hand to help deal with Pongo, so you don't have to burn your Terra for it, or if you have another way to like throw the team out there and preserve, helping hand goes a long way with the opposing Intimidate for the Urshifu into the Pagos matchup. Whist isn't bad though. I don't hate it. I like it because like Intimidate kind of feels kind of null with the things that you're trying to burn are not being intimidated, because more than half the time they are running a clear amulet unless you're a Zishian. But yeah, I do think this team will definitely be there. I think personally, my opinion, the best CSRs that will do well will be the ones with some type of speed control like Tailwind. There is also another version of CSR that is picking up that I was gonna quickly mention. I did remember this. It has Chin Pao, Mystic Water Urshi, Amoonguss, and you want to guess the last two? Incineroar. Yes, the Goon Squad. Yeah, I mean, like, these guys definitely like can work together. It's interesting to see a different take on a CSR team too, because I'm pretty sure this is Life Orb for maximum amount of damage. But yeah, a balanced CSR with Amu redirection. Amu's kind of like your tailwind, your trick room deterrent, sorry, and also your trick room like answer for you to be able to put things to sleep in trick room. Since most of the trick room abusers right now don't really have a way outside of like hands me right on to stop being spored, but you have Rillaboom for that, you have Amoonguss, you have Chin Pao, you have CSR. So these are all like pretty good things you could make an excuse to bring into Miraidon, and like other archetypes. Like I do think having the Psychic Dark fighting core is sick, with also having a Firewater Grass with double grass is pretty nice. Amoonguss is a timeless classic with Ensign. Rillaboom, Urshifu, double fake out's always going to be broken. So yeah, I do think this is an interesting comp. This has picked up quite a bit. I definitely think we'll see more of this in EUIC. I don't know if how much this will do well, depending on who's going to bring it, who's going to play it. I will say who I think is going to play it. But I wouldn't be surprised if this archetype does pretty well. But I do think the tailwind versions of CSR are definitely going to be something to keep their eye out on. It'd probably be anywhere between like Caloric Shadow, Tornadus, Clefairy, double redirection. I think inherently is just what you want on a tailwind CSR team with Urshifu, because Torn Urshifu with CSR sounds really, really strong, and it is really, really strong. But yeah. And then you got new Miraidon. The reason why it says new, not so new, is because people have adapted now to this Mystic Water Urshifu variant. Personally, I don't think this variant's going to do as well. What am I saying? The thing that is always true is that there's nothing that beats a well-played Miraidon. But yeah, this is a new, not so new version where we've seen people go no fighting move, full on just water with taunt. I still like CC on the Urshifu. The Mystic Water is nice to have that big damage, like to deal with Chin Paos, because Chin Pao is pretty annoying. I don't know. I mean, this team will always perform, I feel like, right? It didn't do well in San Antonio, but who knows? Maybe the adaptations can make a difference. They've also done the Hornleech Bulky Pond. I'm not a huge fan of this either. Bulky Pond is cool and all, but my guy misses KOs without Terra, which kind of sucks. But that's not what he's meant for, essentially. But at the same time, since he is bulkier, there are some things that can pin it, in a sense where, like, okay, Cornerstone is not bad into Fire Pond, right? It's actually very good. But even with that, like, Priority into the Rock Pond kind of, like, can go crazy into it, unless you crit them with Fire Cudgel in return when you lead, like, Fire Pond Whims. But Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I do think this team can still perform. Am I the hugest fan of it right now? Not so much. I still expect to see it there. So prep for it. The next thing is this VR Pagos team. We saw do some, like, I think a week ago, do really well. It won, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it, like, the first time I saw it actually was before the VR was going on. There was like a Spain Cup that was going on, and a player brought this team and was like dominating everybody with it, and like he won. It was really cool to see this change. I think Screamtail is an amazing Pagos partner. Obviously, Rillaboom, Ensign, Timeless Classic, always going to be good with Pagos. Cornerstone was super sick to see on this because I love this guy. I'm so biased. Think this guy is awesome. Not a huge fan of it having Grassy Glide, but makes sense when you have Rillaboom with it. It's cool to give it priority, and you having double priority spam with this is pretty nice. And then Heatran, an amazing Mon, because of the fact that like Parapagos, biggest thing that it hates that some of this team kind of doesn't like dealing with is Zamazenta, and now you have a Zamazenta pseudo answer, which is kind of cool. I thought that this was a really sick adaptation for a Pagos team. However, I don't expect it to do that well. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm not 100% sold on it. Just because I think Zamazenta, Chi-Yu, Flutter stuff isn't going to go anywhere, and it's still pretty good into this comp. It's really good into this comp, in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's super strong still, so I can see that still being an annoying thing for this Pagos team, despite the Screamtail nuisance. But yeah, let me know what you think. All right, and then we have this really super sick team. I don't think it'll win, but it was really cool. This was this VR team that really popped off this past weekend leading up to the leading up to EUIC. It was the last VR they were hosting, and it literally took first. It was really cool. It was like Spiky Shield, Smeargle with Wide Guard, Follow Me, Spore, no Fake Out, Scarf, Lando with Terra Poison with Psychic, Sludge Bomb, and Sansir Earth Power. And then the Bolt was Life Orb, which was pretty interesting as well. Something I never got to try, but it was Terra Fairy, which I think is still correct. I think the Terra Fairy Bolt on Koraidon teams should be pretty, like, needed in my opinion. The Flutter was Speed Booster with Icy Wind, Moonblast, Taunt. Not a hater of Taunt like did on the Flutter. And then the Koraidon was pretty much standard Koraidon, Clear Amp, Terra Fire, Flame Charge stuff. It was really sick to see Koraidon like win. Like, I know like VR isn't a major, but like, you know, the best of the best players that sign up usually play in that, especially prepping for a big tournament like London. And that was like, I feel like a low turnout this weekend too, even still, where there was like 207 players for a weekend going into a major like this one, and it still managed to take a dub. So big shout outs to Koraidon, and I don't remember the Korean player's name that won with it, but like shout out to them. That was a really sick performance to see. I really wish I could find out what they lost to, like, in their sets, but it was really sick to see someone pilot this team. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, with this forecast, we're going to see a lot of the balance cores that I pointed out right here. We may see some of this in response to this. I think we'll still see some of the tank team with CIR, and an uptick of a not so common or popular CSR, I would say, is this one with the Chin Pao and the Goon Squad over here. So I think we could see these guys rise up. If not, the old version of Zama definitely will be the thing that will go crazy, in my opinion, to into some of these that we've already seen right here. I think the Behemoth Bash Zama is probably might play Zama in second in usage or third. I think first will probably be CSR, and then third will be Miraidon or CIR. It will definitely be an interesting day one, I think. But in the day two, I think who's really going to pop off is anywhere between Zamazenta and, honestly, maybe Koraidon. Who knows? I don't think it'll be this Koraidon, but like there's other Koraidon teams that we've seen do well at San Antonio. And yeah, I think like Luca and Gio's Koraidon team is definitely something to keep your eye out on with the Ditto and the Clover Cloak Chi-Yu. It's something that still like works right now. There's also the Scale Shot variant. I'm not a huge fan of the Scale Shot variant, but I do think the Umbreon in that last slot with a Clear Am Koraidon still works. It's a very nice mon to have as a pressure into CIR, well, at least to be able to function in Trick Room and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed today's content, please drop a like and a subscription. If you would like to give me some hot takes as of your own, you could write them in the comment section below of any teams that you may think might do better, or if you have any comments about the picks that I have here. Obviously, I did not put everything on here, but I do think that these are some of the most common teams we should be keeping our eye on, outside of maybe the Koraidon down there. But I do think these are some of the teams to definitely keep an eye on going into EUIC with some variance. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming in. We'll see you on the next one for the next forecast. Take it away, John. Alrighty then, folks, I appreciate you guys coming to the channel, and as he said, go ahead, hit that like button, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Till then.